This is literally the second time I've ever flown FPV on a fixed wing. So this is the ZOHD. I'm using iNAV 2.6 for the Dart 250G presets. Took off there. It was kind of a hairy takeoff. I wasn't able to really get it off manually too well, so I quickly put it in angle mode. And I've just been trying to fly it around in circles. Right now I'm auto-tuning the aircraft. And this is kind of, I think I'm doing it properly. You're supposed to fly and give it a bunch of stick inputs in different directions. I believe while it's in angle and aggro mode. Some, post in the comments if I'm correct or not. But this is actually the second flight of the aircraft I've ever done. I have many, many, many hours flying FPV quads. And as a kid, I have many hours flying fixed wing, but this is the first fixed wing FPV that I've ever flown. And the first fixed wing I've picked up in several years. For those that don't know, the Dart 250G is a fantastic electric micro FPV aircraft. It costs under $100. Comes in plug-and-play format. That's what this one was. It comes with a FPV variant with its own stabilizer. This is just the standard plug-and-play. Put in my own FPV setup. I'll tell you a little bit about the setup as well. It was on the screen earlier, but in case you missed it, it's running the Maytech F411 WSC, a really popular iNAV stack. It's also running Crossfire, so that's why I've got really such exceptional range, as well as the TBS Unify Pro 5-volt. I went with the 5-volt because the WSC has filtered 5-volt power, and it's really a lot cleaner video than you were to use the HV. Also running the BN220 with magnetometer. I realized I probably didn't need the magnetometer because on fixed wings it's kind of not necessary for iNAV, but I think my mistake. Also have the RunCam Split 2 in here, and I think that's kind of what's giving it. You see in the top left corner there's some weird gridding. I mean, the camera has, I've had this for a couple of years. It was on my Rotor X switchback. As you can just see, I switched it into acro mode, and I'm starting to fly it a little bit more aggressively. Expos are about 30%. I should probably change my throws, but they were set to what the Dart 250 recommended. It's also pretty darn windy, probably about 15 miles an hour. So was going through the auto tune this entire time, and was really hoping I was able to do it right. It says auto tune on the OSD, but there's really no indication that it's complete. If there's some sort of percentage indicator, that would be great. If any of the iNAV devs are on there, that would be very helpful. Kind of like if we do calibration or even a battery meter, that type of visual feedback is super important. So I kept it pretty low. That water tower stands under 100 feet, so you'll see that flying at a couple hundred feet, but still well below the 400-foot limit. I've also on my screen got a barometer. So I'm fighting the wind. It's trying to find out exactly the best way to fly it. Right now I'm turning into the wind. And once I turn to the wind, the airframe, you can see the bird's kind of flying much slower. It's still getting tossed around a little bit, but poking its way through. I'm using this 2S Lion that ZOHD also provides. A lot of other people offer a similar type pack, probably for cheaper, but it does a good job. I think cruising speed or full open throttle was under 7 amps, maybe 6.8 amps, and then cruising was even lower than that. I think I was 4 or 5 amps, but it's a little bit different when you're flying into the wind. Also worth mentioning, I didn't set up the brake on this aircraft, so the prop is kind of free spinning, which many have said is not very efficient. It's great for slowing down quickly, but on an airframe like this, perhaps not so much. So I'm trying to keep the airframe in sight. You'll see me just in the middle of the field right there. And at some point, coming up here shortly, I want to test the return to home feature. And I forgot, honestly, always check your failsafe settings, guys, because um, what I think on the return to home is that I may or may not have set it to auto land. Um, I hope I'm wrong, but just here in a few minutes, for a few seconds, I think it's right around now. Yeah, right now I hit the button. It's about stabilize, and it's turning around, trying to come towards me. And right around here is where I realize, oh, I'm in trouble, and I'm trying to pull up, um, and it just keeps, flying. And yeah, it didn't really end so hot. So we'll see that again. What I think happened is when it's coming in return to mode, you have to physically flip the mode switch to exit return to land. It doesn't really, it continues its descent and everything else, regardless of the stick inputs, unless you change the mode. I'm pretty sure that's what happened, but if anybody doesn't, please let me know. Anyway, thanks for watching.